Okay. Can you tell us your name and your major and why you chose that major?
Yes, so my name is Karen Valdez, and my major is international business with a minor in English and Spanish translation. And I was able to narrow down my major during quarantine times of reflection. And I was able to think of which studies I wanted to take outside of the classroom and really have a career in, because it can be hard to distinguish the things you enjoy from the things you actually want to work with. And I think this internship actually helped me narrow that down as well.
That's good. And was it supposed to be going a different route before the pandemic happened, or was it something you decided on after the pandemic?
I consider this internship the silver lining of the pandemic, because the pandemic hit everyone unexpectedly, and I was working on campus. I was doing things on campus. So when quarantine started, I was really depressed to just be home and not be doing anything, it felt like.
Mm-hmm.
So I went looking. I was like, I can't do nothing. There has to be something. And since everything was online, I thought I'm gonna follow every UHD page on Instagram. I know there's gotta be updates out here. So I followed the UHD Study Abroad Instagram. And that was when they posted about the virtual internships. And I thought there's gotta be no way, like there's probably not people applying to this because everyone's going through so much right now. And I was like, I'm just gonna give it a shot, because I wanted to do something. I didn't want to just do nothing during this time. And I thought it would be an amazing experience to have a business internship at a time where businesses are also facing these changes
Mm-hmm.
and these new, how people say, unprecedented times.
Yeah.
So I was like, let's make something out of this. Like, I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna apply. And I really just wanted to put my hands on something, and it ended up being a really good experience because we didn't have to worry about airfare or travel logistics. You didn't have to apply to scholarships 5 months ahead of time. Like usually
Mm-hmm.
with study abroad, you have to plan those things out so much, sometimes even a year ahead. But with this virtual internship, I was able to just find it. I worked a lot with Mr. Ali Maghu, and he helped me so much. He helped me so much just within that week, within that month, to get everything settled. And it was the silver lining of the quarantine. It's probably the best thing I've done my entire years at college at the University of Houston downtown. So it was
Great.
a random little blessing.
Yeah. And what was the position and the internship? What did that entail?
So I was partnered with Ort University in Uruguay, which is Uruguay's largest private university. And specifically, I was working within their CIE Center, which is in Spanish, but it's an acronym that stands for Innovation and Entrepreneurship Center. And I wanted to work with Uruguay because I wanted to work on my Spanish, but they wanted to work on their English. So I was using both. I got to
Yeah.
use both. And I was I was helping different businesses that were partnering with that university to develop their business pitch in English, because they really believe in speaking the language of the people they want to work with, and they wanted to expand in the United States. So I was helping them with their English fluency.
Mm-hmm.
And along the way, I got to just speak with them on a weekly basis. I was hosting conversational workshops with them that lasted like an hour, sometimes twice a week, with a bunch of different people. And in those conversational workshops, you really got to know them. So I really got to learn from them as well. And I also helped some English copywriting for some of the companies, and a lot of tasks that were just given to me, and I just took them on. So every week was different, but
Mm-hmm.
it was really fun.
Okay. And I know there's that in-person relationship that's missing. So what was that virtual experience like for you? And it's just something being completely new. And what was that like for you?
Obviously, I would prefer in person. I'm super I'm so much of a people person that I didn't know how this was going to work out. But I did appreciate video calls. We did a lot of video calls, and I started to appreciate that a lot more rather than like emailing and things like that. And I learned a lot to better my communication, since so much of they say that most of our communication is through body language. And that's a huge thing that got cut off. So I learned to really better my communication with my words, my thoughts, my concepts, the clarity of what I'm saying, which is something I feel like usually we rely a lot on our body. You rely on a lot of how you say something to come across. But especially when I did have to work in emails and on things that were text driven, you really have to work on how clear you come across. But I did find that there were some advantages, because you can just send someone a link and be like, do you want to talk? And you don't have to like meet up in person. You don't have to drive. And sometimes you put in that extra effort to talk to someone. So sometimes I feel like maybe I got more out of it than if we would have been in person, just because of that effort of reaching out to someone. Obviously, I I would have loved to work with them in person, but we still put that effort in. We would have chats also on WhatsApp, just like to get to know each other. So there's always that effort. If people want to, there will be that effort.
Yeah. Okay. And what are some great things and positive benefits that you've taken away from this experience?
There has been a lot. There's been so many. So I think that I got to know so many people that it didn't just feel like a summer internship. It felt like more than that. And I'm now planning to go study abroad in Uruguay as soon as I can. I don't know when I'll be able to, but as soon as I can. And now I can go already knowing people there, rather than when you plan to study abroad, you don't know anybody there. You don't know what you're getting yourself into. You don't know the culture until you get there. And I feel like I was able to get a really good introduction and taste for what it's like. And now I have people in Uruguay that are like, come, come to Uruguay, even if you don't plan to study abroad, even if you come on vacation, you can stay with me. Like, I have people that I trust. I know how it works. The company that introduced me to my internship also does study abroad. So if I do a study abroad with them, I'm gonna get a returning student discount of $500. I already have people in the study abroad organization that I know that have explained to me how it works. So all my questions that you have already been answered when it comes to planning a study abroad. And I feel like I got that advantage out of that. I was also able to have like a whole few years plan for after I graduate college what I want to do. And that's something I've never been the kind of person to know, like, oh, after this year I want to do this. I've never been that kind of person. Now I have a plan. Now I know which countries I want to work with. I have a lot more things narrowed down for what my future looks like.
Wow, that's awesome. And in terms of finances and financial aid, what was that process like? Did you receive scholarships and funding, and how was that?
So that's another benefit of the virtual internship, is that it's way cheaper than going in person, super, super cheaper. And I did receive financial aid. I received a scholarship from UHD that covered basically all of it from the study abroad office. And the process was just the same process as when you apply to a scholarship for study abroad with UHD, which is you fill the application and there's like a short essay. And they got back to me really quickly. They worked really directly with me to get me the scholarship. Everything was paid off in time. It's just a matter, I think, of getting in communication with the study abroad office. And once you're speaking with them, they'll help you through the whole process. So it was not a problem.
So it was relatively quick.
Mm-hmm.
Everything fell in line for you. That's great.
Yes.
So I guess for others who are considering studying abroad even now during all of this, and those who are considering doing a virtual internship like you did, what advice would you give them?
I definitely believe, I know people say this a lot, but you really get what you give, because I was having like the time of my life, and there was other people in the same company from different schools that weren't having the same experience as me. And I think it's because they weren't taking the time to reach out to people. For example, we had a seminar to go along with the internship. That was what helped gave me credit for it. And the seminar instructor asked, what can I do that will help your success? And I asked him to meet with me every week. So we had 30-minute meetings every single week. And he would just check up with me. I would just tell him how I've been doing, and I would ask him any questions I had. But with time, it grew into kind of a mentor relationship where it became like him mentoring me every week. So that was something I got that no one else got because they didn't ask for it. And that person to me became a close contact, a letter of reference, someone I can go to visit whenever I want because they know me now. And he lives in London. So he's like, if you ever come to London, like I'm here. And he became someone that I really look up to. And he has a career that I really admire. So it was through my mentorship with him mostly that I was able to figure out what I want to do with my career after this. So it depends who you reach out to and what you give to see what kind of things you get back. And also, I really had to work on my time management. I thought I was good at time management, but no, 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 no. I ended up buying like a white erase board, and I had my day like hour by hour. So
Wow, a step up. So from a personal standpoint, what did you learn about yourself from this experience?
oh my gosh, I learned so much about myself. Every week was like a new theme of this is something you didn't know about yourself.
Yeah.
So I learned one of the big things I learned is I learned what time I work best at.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not in the middle of the day. Why? Because Texas is really hot. And from like 3 to 5, I don't want to do anything. I don't care if I'm indoors. It doesn't matter. I realize like I just don't function. So I'll work in the mornings. I'll work all morning. I work all night. In the middle of the day, it's just like you can't get to me. But it's good to know that because there are times when people are like, you tell me when you can work. And it's best to know yourself in that way. I learned I come from I'm Mexican American, and I always related more to my Mexican side, especially out of just being proud to be of Latino descent. But I learned through this internship that I'm more American than I thought I was. So you learn a lot about yourself and your identity and how you see yourself, because I was always kind of putting down my American side. But when you work with other countries, you really see what customs you have from your own country, whether you recognize it or not. And I thought my Spanish was good. I learned it could be worked on. It could definitely be worked on. I learned how to use Spanish in a business setting, because even though I speak both, I never had to use Spanish in a business setting. I learned how to use Spanish in a business setting. I learned that you can't just learn a language and not know the people, because I was like, oh, I already know Spanish and English. I'm going to try to learn another language. And now I'm realizing like, wow, even though I spoke Spanish my whole life, I feel like I'm barely getting to know it because I'm barely working with these countries. There's so much still to learn. Like I learned a lot about learning, and that you have to really stay curious, even in things that you thought you knew well. And I learned that even though I thought I was just jumping into this because of the quarantine, just like, oh, a little flexible moment, I learned that that's actually one of my best traits, even in the workplace, is my ability to adapt. So I learned a lot about like what I'm good at, what I need to work on, who I am. It was a huge identity search like every week. So yeah, I mean, it was a lot. I learned a lot.
Yeah. It sounds like a lot of personal growth. That's exciting,
Yeah, definitely.
especially during this time.
Yeah,
Um,
personal and academic as well.
yeah, that's great. And I guess down the line, how do you see this um, experience helping your career? It seems like it's already off to a really great start.
Yeah, so I began university as a philosophy major. and I kind of just recently switched to business, like right before doing this internship. So it gave me a huge introduction to what a career in business would look like, and I can continue my studies already having that in hand rather than the other way around. So then when I learn things in class, I can really apply them and apply them to
Yep.
my next opportunity. Um, the internship was supposed to end in late July, but I got offered to keep working with one of the companies. So my internship's over, but I'm working with a company still in Uruguay. So the experience continues. I mean, it's not over for me. It's not over. My time with Uruguay is not over. I'm still in contact with them. I'm still working with them. And we're gonna see where that leads to. So none of it's over. It led to more things as internships should, because I've had other internships in downtown Houston in person before this quarantine. And when the internship ended, I mean, it was over. That was it. But this one, you would think the same since it's virtual, but since it is virtual, you can keep working with people. It doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter what time of the day. Like, and the company I'm working for specifically has people all over the world, so they're used to this format. There's people working from Vienna. There's people working from Argentina, Uruguay, Houston. So
Yeah.
it keeps going.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, that was my last question. Is there anything else you'd like to add or any piece of advice?
I just want to restate that this was like the best thing I've done all 2 years that I've been in university, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it feels like I'm running out of time. And you wouldn't think that such a good thing would come at this time. I was like so depressed when quarantine started. I wasn't even like doing well in my classes. But better things always come if you look for them. And I would not give up at all at this time. I would say that like things are still going on for people. We're all still working. We're all still trying our best. So I would just say not to see virtual internships as, you know, a quarantine thing, but kind of like there's still opportunities, and it was one of the best ones I've had. So that's just something I would like to reiterate.
Well, thank you so much, Karen, for sharing your experience with us.
Of course.
Yeah. Thank